dos Reis needs the Bank of Portugal's governor to appear to authorize a secret transaction. Of course, the real governor knows nothing about any of this. So Alves dos Reis forges the paperwork instead. He builds a fake contract, claiming that a small group of investors has been secretly authorized to print extra banknotes for use in the colony of Angola. The story he invents is clever. He says the notes are needed quietly, off the official books, to help stabilize the colonial economy without public scrutiny. He recruits two men to pose as directors of a printing scheme and a friend, José Bandeira, to help manage communications with London. Together they draft letters on official-looking bank stationery, complete with forged signatures of real bank directors. Then he sends the documents to Waterlow and Sons in London. This is the moment the entire plan either dies or survives. If anyone at the printing company picks up a phone and calls Lisbon to confirm the order, it's over. Nobody calls. The paperwork looks clean. The signatures look right. The story is plausible enough that a busy printing company dealing with governments all over the world has no reason to suspect the request is fake. Waterlow and Sons agrees to the deal. And just like that, one of the most respected currency printers in the world starts producing real Portuguese banknotes for a man who has no legal right to a single one of them.
Here is the detail that makes this story different from almost every other counterfeiting case in history. These notes are not counterfeit in the traditional sense. They are printed using the exact same plates, the exact same paper, and the exact same process as Portugal's legitimate currency. The ink is real. The serial numbers are real, technically issued by the printer. If you held one of these bills next to an official one from the Bank of Portugal, you would not find a single physical difference. That's the trick. That's the whole reason banks and shopkeepers accept the money without a second glance. It isn't a forgery pretending to be real money. It is real money, printed without permission. Between late 1924 and 1925, over 200,000 banknotes roll off the presses in London, worth roughly 100 million escudos, an amount some estimates place near $80 million at the time. That's money equal to nearly 1% of Portugal's entire economy, created out of nothing but paperwork and confidence. Alves dos Reis has just done something almost no criminal in history manages to pull off. He hasn't tricked a bank into accepting fake currency. He's tricked an entire nation's financial system into manufacturing his fortune for him. Now he just has to figure out how to spend it without drawing attention. Alves dos Reis doesn't dump the money all at once. That would be the move of an amateur, and he isn't one. Instead, he spreads the cash slowly through Lisbon and Porto, mixing it into legitimate business deals. He buys property. He invests in companies. He even purchases a controlling stake in the Bank of Angola and Metropole, a real financial institution, giving himself something that looks a lot like legal cover. Think about that for a moment. A man who forged his way into a fortune is now sitting on the board of an actual bank, shaking hands with real bankers, discussing real interest rates. To the public, Alves dos Reis looks like a rising star of Portuguese finance. Newspapers write about his business success. Investors want to work with him. He throws himself into high society, buying expensive homes and expensive friends. Behind closed doors, he keeps ordering more notes from London, small batches at first, then larger ones as his confidence grows and no one raises an alarm. Each new shipment of banknotes strengthens his cover story. It also does something else, something far more dangerous. It starts quietly poisoning the entire Portuguese economy, one printed bill at a time. By mid-1925, the amount of money Alves dos Reis has secretly pumped into circulation is staggering. Estimates suggest his fake banknotes make up roughly 1% of all Portuguese currency in circulation, a huge amount for one person to have quietly injected into a national economy. Inflation in Portugal starts climbing. Prices creep upward. Ordinary citizens start noticing that their money buys less than it used to. Economists at the time struggled to explain it. Portugal's economy isn't growing fast enough to justify this kind of inflation. Something doesn't add up, but nobody can pinpoint what. Alves dos Reis, meanwhile, keeps expanding. He starts talking about founding an entirely new national bank to rival the Bank of Portugal itself, a bold and strange ambition for a man who, on paper, came from nothing. That ambition becomes his first real mistake. The more visible he becomes, the more questions start circling around his sudden wealth. Competing bankers grow suspicious of how fast his fortune appeared. Some notice that his banknotes, while technically legitimate, share serial numbers with notes already registered at the Bank of Portugal. Two bills, same numbers, should be impossible. Someone finally decides to check. In late 1925, bank clerks in Porto notice something odd while sorting through cash. Two banknotes, supposedly unique, carry identical serial numbers. At first, they assume it's simple human error, maybe a printing mistake. But as they dig deeper, they find more duplicates. Then more. The pattern is too consistent to be an accident. Word reaches the Bank of Portugal, and officials launch a quiet investigation. They trace the duplicate notes back through banking records, slowly connecting them to accounts and businesses tied to one name that keeps appearing again and again. Artur Alves dos Reis. Investigators travel to London to speak with Waterlow and Sons, the printing company that produced the notes years earlier. That conversation changes everything. The company confirms they did print a large batch of Portuguese currency, based on documents they believed came from the Bank of Portugal itself. The bank has never heard of the order. By December of 1925, Portuguese authorities arrest Alves dos Reis. He doesn't run, and he doesn't deny what he's done. Instead, he tries something almost as bold as the original scheme. He argues that since his money is physically identical to real currency, the Bank of Portugal actually owes him for services rendered, claiming he helped finance the national economy at a difficult time. The courts do not agree.